Beautiful listeners, and happy new year. We are in January. We are hitting the ground running, and Ness and I are super pumped to be back in your listening ears. Happy New Year, Ness.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2024 and another round of podcasts for the year. Very exciting. And I'm super excited about what we're going to kick off with today because it feels very much aligned to us just having had a break, and hopefully you listeners out there also having had a break. So over to you, Nick. Let's let you give the rundown around what we're going to cover off.
Excellent. I can definitely do that. This is one of our most favorite topics to talk about. And the thing is that this time of year is such a good opportunity to do a reset. So as Ness said, we really trust and hope that you've had an opportunity to have a proper break, to unplug, rest, and re-nourish for the year ahead. And if you haven't, then you're probably thinking, geez, something needs to change. So this is such a great time of year to be able to start to embed some new habits. We're not talking about New Year's resolutions. We know that New Year's resolutions have a very short time frame, a lifespan, and we want to create long-lasting habits. So one of our favorite topics to talk about is time freedom, what you can do to manage your time a little bit better. So the theme for today's Poddy app, to get us started for the new year, is sharing with you the 6 things that are sucking your time or stopping you from having more time. Well, Ness and I, we're going to share with you the top 6 things that are stopping you from having more time. Ness, what's number 1? What's the first thing we want to share and talk about today?
Well, number 1 excites me because I think we have so much control over this one thing, and it is our belief. What's our belief around time? Do we believe that there is enough time, that there's more than enough time in any given day? Or do we have a belief that there is never enough time? Sometimes you'll go, hey, how you doing? Oh my God, I'm so busy. I've got so much on. I never have enough time. And wishing and hoping and praying that the days get longer. Now, there are periods in my life where I go, I just need another day in my day. But what we like to look at is, where are you at this point in time, based on what's been going on for you over the last, few weeks, month or so, and checking in, because your belief can change. I really think, depending on what's going on externally for you, where your mindset's at, whether you've tipped back into some scarcity thinking or whether you've got the abundance thinking. It can be triggered by events. It could be triggered by, feeling run down and tired and stressed. Or, as we know, there are periods of time in our business, and I'm sure everybody experiences this, where there's a peak. We've just had all this time off. We're going to come back and hit the ground running, and we're going to have a lot of client work. So it really does have some influence about what's happening externally, but I still get excited about the fact that we can choose our belief, and that will impact how we feel and therefore what we do to fill our time.
Absolutely. The more we tell ourselves there's not enough time, I don't have enough time, yada, yada, the more that we're in that self-perpetuating cycle, and what we focus on is what we get. So you heard it here first, people. Well, maybe we're not the first people ever to say this, but
Really?
You heard it here first for this year.
Love
belief.
it.
What's your belief around time, and what's that? What is that telling you? So if I then go to the second thing to consider in terms of what could be holding you back from having more time, it's how mindful are you during your day? Are you stuck in this place of busy, the whirlwind, the chaos, where you don't actually even realize or remember what happened this morning, let alone a week ago or 2 days ago? Or are you actually being more mindful? Are you living more mindfully? Are you being present? One of the best tools and techniques that we share, that I love is micro moments. Micro moments can help you bring mindfulness back into your day. And if you have had a beautiful, relaxing holiday or some time off, then it's easy to go, yeah, I'm feeling really mindful. That's great. Or maybe you've had a hectic holiday and you actually haven't. Because remember, these tips are not just for work and business, they're for life as well. So it's really thinking, how will you set yourself up to be mindful even in the chaos? The chaos will happen, the whirlwind will happen, but what are the things that you can do? Like I said, micro moments are a great tool. What are your favorite micro moments, Ness?
Well, I think it depends on the time of year, because I do live in Victoria.
That's true.
Feet on the ground in the middle of winter here is equivalent of having an ice bath. So I think that it will be, for me, it's the things you can do outdoors, but it's also the things you can do indoors. And I think box breathing probably is the one that really resonates with me, because it changes your state in 30 seconds, 1 minute. It just brings everything back down. So it's the key is to remember, in those busy times, to just take a breath. Just really, that 30 seconds, 1 minute is all it takes to just calm the whole nervous system, all the clutter in your head. It just allows that space, and I love that.
Yeah, I love the box breathing. And I was hanging out with Jules, my wife, just the other day, and she's got her Apple Watch on. And I don't know, we were watching some really intense show or something. And she started doing box breathing and saw on her iWatch her blood pressure, her heart rate, that's right, go down. So it was like a real life human experiment. She was like, oh my gosh, I've just done box breathing and I'm watching my heart rate go down. This is amazing. And we know, because this is all scientifically proven and researched, but that was just a real life in the moment, on the couch moment, where it's like, this really does work. And my favorite micro moment at the moment is getting on the ground with the dogs, lying down on the office floor, on the grass, and they get so excited. Puppy cuddles. Old puppy cuddles are the best.
That's amazing.
So let's get a little bit more tactical and pragmatic now. We've talked about beliefs, we've talked about mindfulness and the micro moments, and actually both of those things create space and therefore create time in our day, even if it's 60 seconds or 30 minutes, an hour. If we shift gears a little bit, there's a couple of key things that can be holding you back from having more time that are a bit more pragmatic around how we're approaching our tasks and actions for the day. So what would point number 3 be?
So the third one is prioritization. So is this about, are you looking at prioritizing quality actions and tasks over just getting through your to-do list and just getting stuff done? So it's the high quality, that's what's sitting at the top level, and then it's just stuff, low quality, but I always think of that, was it Stephen Covey that did the model that, like, the urgent, important, all of those
time
kinds
management
of
grid.
Yeah. So it's the whole thing around identifying where are you focusing your time. And I think about in my corporate days, when everything I know now, I shudder at how I worked in the past, some of my work methods, because it was really driven by the quick and easy things, because the hard stuff I just procrastinated on, and then would end up working long hours because you've got to get this report done and whatever. So I could really resonate with just doing stuff, and I think as I became a business owner, I understood more and more the importance of strategy, the importance of prioritizing the things that matter the most in life, in business, and really getting that sort of higher quality work done. And when you're at your optimum, when you are full of energy, when your mind is working at its best, when you're not tired and run down because you've just had a day where everything's been thrown at you. So really identifying what is the priority here, and is it of a high quality, or is it just stuff that's low quality?
Yeah, because it feels easy. It's that dopamine hit, isn't it? Where it's like, oh, I've ticked something off my list, but does it even matter? Which leads to the next one. It's kind of a double entendre. I don't know if that's actually correct context, but anyway, sounds good. Which is outcome. So are you outcome focused? If you're prioritizing on the right things, then your outcomes are accomplished. They're the things that are moving you towards achieving your goals, achieving what you want to do this quarter, this year in the business and in life, as opposed to if you're not really outcome focused, then there's this sense and this feeling of just constantly chasing. And so it's really linked with that prioritization piece, in that if you're not prioritizing the right things and focusing on outcomes, so there's a link there, then we get stuck in this feeling of chasing and we're just getting stuff done, which we might get a quick hit of reward and dopamine in the moment, but it's not long lasting. Like the time management grid that 𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀 talks about is that we end up focusing on not important and not urgent tasks. So what are you doing to stay focused on the outcome? And when you are working on your beliefs, when you are bringing micro moments and space into your life, when you're prioritizing the right things and focusing on outcomes, you actually get time back. Are we seeing the pattern here? It's all linked together, people.
100%. And I think that's the beauty of this. We call it like the time hacking audit, right? To be able to stop and take that perspective around, where is my mindset at? Where is the pragmatic side at? What am I up to? And there's still even more.
Yes,
probably then comes back to, we've gone into the mindset and the thoughtfulness, the mindfulness, beliefs, all of that. And then we've gone pragmatic, and now we're going to go back into the internal feelings. So it's the emotion that we're experiencing. Do we have an emotion of gratitude? Gratitude for all that there is, gratitude for life, gratitude for the people in your world, or do we have this overwhelming sense of guilt? So it's certainly I relate to this. When my kids were younger, it was the guilt of working when I wanted to be with them or wanted to give them my presence, or being with them and feeling guilty because I felt like I should be working. And, like deadlines or whatever, it just was this constant battle between feeling guilty for being in one place in life or the other. And I think that as time went on and I started to understand more around setting boundaries and prioritization and presence, mindfulness, all of these areas, it really helped me to come back to gratitude. And so even in those times in our business where, we have pretty hectic schedules and there's a lot going on and we're jumping from one thing to another, there's so much gratitude for that. Because we don't run a business like that 24, hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. We just have peaks like a season where it comes to goes. And rather than feeling the emotion of guilt, I love that I can feel that gratitude towards, well, I'm doing this right now, but it means I'm going to have some downtime because we take time off, or we have a long weekend, or, there's something to look forward to. So I don't need to hold guilt around what I'm doing. And then when I do go and have the break and the rest, I also don't have to feel guilty about that. I can just be really grateful that we run a business where you and I can know that the business still goes, but we can take time out of it. So that's really intentional. And I think that it's just such a beautiful play of how they all work together.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a psychologist saying to me, 2012, I remember the date or the year, and she said, Nicky, you can't feel guilt and gratitude at exactly the same time. And so if you are in this place of guilt, and if you don't resonate with the word guilt, nothing has meaning except the meaning we give it, there might be another unresourceful sort of feeling. You might word it as I'm letting people down, or all sorts of things. I won't even go there. But what you can do, like the practical side here, is when you have that feeling, we all know what that feeling is for us. Think, what's one thing I can be grateful for right now? And if it's a really big stretch, do a couple of things, 2 or 3 things. Because when you're focusing on that gratitude, what are you not focusing on? You're not focusing on that icky feeling that's just bringing you down. And yeah, I love what you said there, Ness, around it's like what I'm hearing in that is accepting and embracing wherever we're at, and even the tough side of life.
Yeah.
You know, the challenges that we have, the problems that we have. And in business, as we grow, we have higher quality problems. And in life, we all have adversity. No one gets away with not having that. And even in those times, if we can stretch that muscle of gratitude and finding things to be grateful for, it has a huge impact on our overall well-being.
I remember you sort of jolted my memory when my daughter was maybe 14 or so. She played saxophone, and she was playing in a concert with the school to this packed out RSL in a country town.
Wow,
well, you know,
that's amazing.
As in parents and grandparents and relatives all coming to see the school band play. And I'd gone along to watch, and she, because she was with her dad that week, and she had a really upsetting thing happen. She had a big argument with someone in her world, and she was really upset. And so I remember going out the back because I think like my son went, "Oh, Beck needs you." So I went out the back, and she's crying, and she's like, I don't think I can go through with this. I can't stop crying, and I've got to go and play the saxophone. I feel awful. And in that moment, I just went, right, gratitude. I'm going to time you. You're going to do 1 minute, and you can only say all the things that you're happy and grateful for. And I just want you to just not even think about it, just whatever comes out of your mouth. And she just looked at me like I was nuts. And then a bit reluctant to start with. And I'm going, come on, another thing. And so she did it, and the tears dried up, and she had a smile on her face, and it just got her through so that she could play the saxophone and you know, be part of this night and this presentation without letting get what was in her head in the way of that. Didn't mean that she didn't have to come back to that and deal with that, but it did get her through to be able to play on stage. And she had, you know, she was great. So it could have gone in such a different direction and been a horrible experience. So knowing these kind of ways or tips and tricks to sort of get over those funky places, it's just such a great thing for us to share with those who are important in our world, and the ripple effect that comes from that with our team or our family or our friends to help them get out of it. And for her, I guess the emotion was, it could be any emotion, right? It wasn't guilt, it was sadness. For others, it might be scarcity. For others, it might be fear. Like there's so many different emotions that will bring us down and stop us from moving forward. So just the flip of that up to gratitude can make a massive amount of difference.
What a story. I love that story so much. And it just shows the power of something as simple as gratitude, and also a really good perspective there around, if it's not guilt, what is that other unresourceful emotion? And the reason we talk about guilt is because we know that there's a lot of business owners that do experience that emotion on a regular basis. And how this links back to getting time freedom and getting more time is this piece, and Ness said it before, you know, how we think about things impacts how we feel about things. Our emotions impact how we feel, and that impacts our behavior and our actions. So we talk about time hacking, or what's holding you back from having more time. But really also what this is about is creating space, and how we're feeling. You can see how much more of a resourceful behavior, action person we can be when we're coming from a place of gratitude and creating that space. I love that. Thank you for sharing this. And
you're welcome.
Okay, so the final one, also another favorite. I just love all of this, you know, it's and it's a work in progress. So the final one is energy. You know, your energy can hold you back or help you move forward. It can help you or it can hinder you in terms of having more time. What do I mean by that, Ness?
Well, there's so many ways that we can go with this. I think optimal energy is what we strive for. Optimal energy is where we wake up and we feel energized, right? We've got enough stamina to get through whatever we need to get through. It can come from so many places. Where do I start? So it can be the physical energy. So did we sleep well? Are we eating well? Are we healthy? You know, is everything well within our body? Are our relationships in a good place? All the things that impact how we feel. And then there's also, I believe, the energy that comes from our natural drivers. So we think of disc styles, think of the introversion and the extroversion, think of, what comes easy to you, what you have to actually put focus, effort, and energy into. And that means that any given day, our energy levels can change. And then we bring in, the cycles that we have around, especially for us as women, and, there's so many factors that can impact this optimal level of energy. Or we can just feel like we're leaking energy, like yesterday was a kind of day for me. And we honor that in our business when we're working. And sometimes we can be full of energy and super productive. And other times, if it's not there, we tend to, unless we have deadlines, let's not force it. Let's just honor where we're at right now. Because what I have learned the hard way is when you honor where your energy is at and you allow the time to step back and recharge, whether it be an early night, a healthy meal, a walk along out in nature, anything that recharges our battery, you are then so much more effective when you have that energy back the next day. Whereas I think what really let me down in the past was that corporate thinking around, I have to do these hours, like I can't finish work early because that's an early pass.
Yes.
And if I honor my energy and finish up at 3:00, by 9:00 tomorrow morning or 8:30 or whatever, I'm going to have the energy to come back and actually be way more productive, because that leaking energy moment and beyond, you're not productive. I think everybody out there will agree it is not our best time.
Absolutely. And we can't be always on. And who decided that we were able to be always on between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. and that was it? Like when we think about this whole Monday to Friday, but that's it. And look, I know there's needs of the business, so I get that. We're not saying that. And for some leaders that are listening, you might not be able to set your own hours, but you can still have control over the type of work that you do at different parts of the day. So we're not designed to be always on all the time, which is why things like burnout happen, and we're in all the sorts of trouble that we have been in as a society, and expectations around hustle culture, etc. So that is something to consider. And I also want to say it's not big energy. So some people think it's jumping out of bed with heaps of energy every single day. Some people aren't even like that many days anyway. Like, that's fine. It's what does optimal energy look like for you? And it's when there's, for me, I think about clarity of focus. My mind is clear. I don't feel exhausted. I feel like I do have, good energy to show up emotionally as well as physically. And, that might be different because sometimes we're in creative mode and we've got to think more. Sometimes we might be, in our work, it might be doing presentations. So it is a bigger energy we need to bring. So really think, what is optimal energy for me? And I always go back to the classics. I remember interviewing 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀, who's an amazing PT, Prestige Fit here in Brisbane. Shout out to him. I interviewed him in COVID times to ask, what are the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves? And he said it's simple, everybody. It's not always easy, but it's simple. Drink lots of water, get good sleep, and move your body. Like those three things. Are you doing those three foundational things? Because if you're not, you'll have leaky energy. And, that feeling of just being utterly exhausted when you wake up or at the end of the day, that's leaky energy.
And the reality is that the people in our world are moving towards, if not already at burnout, if they're not managing all of this and the other areas that we support them with, because that leaking energy is going to be, where you're sitting all the time. And it reminds me of the podcast we did with Susan Hunter and talking about, understanding where we're at physically and how that impacts us. So we can't keep running at a high level of adrenaline without having a negative impact on our body. So, and I remember a conversation, you know, with somebody in our community saying that they took a week off but could not unwind because their stress level, their cortisol level was so high that anxiety and stress was present that whole week rather than letting it go. Or the example of the client who went overseas on holiday and was asleep for nearly 48 hours. Like, it was just no energy. You know, we can't sustain leaking energy for long periods of time, even though we think we're superwomen, supermen out there.
Super people.
Because your body will tell you, your body will just shut down, right? So this, I mean, they are all so important. But what I love is how they start to merge together and really influence each other. When we don't know where to start, we start with, what is the one that's lowest? What can I do? What's a step I can do towards shifting this? And then sometimes that has a domino effect on other areas, because if we have optimal energy, we are more likely then to be able to be focused enough to be able to prioritize what we want to do. We're more likely to feel accomplished. Like, they just all play together, which is such a cool thing about this audit.
Definitely. It is the interplay, because if you're feeling exhausted, then of course it's going to be much harder to stay in a place of gratitude than guilt or the negative emotion. And then, like you say, then that's harder to prioritize on quality outcomes and talk about mindfulness. Yeah, right. Who has time or patience for that? Because again, the cortisol, the adrenaline is going. And then that feeds into the belief that there's not enough time. And the other thing I just want to kind of finish out by saying here as well is, as a leader in your business and as a business owner, or, you know, you are a leader, really think about how you're displaying or approaching these 6 key areas. So, for example, what language are you using? Because your team are picking up on that. If you're always talking about, I'm so busy, there's never enough time, that's the culture that you're creating in your business, and your team are going to be picking up on that. If you're too busy to have a one-on-one with them or have a lunch break, guess what? That's the expectation that you're setting for your business. If you're, you know, in that negative emotional space instead of gratitude, if you're always exhausted, like, this is your opportunity to lead by example. And whether you realize it or not, people are always boss watching, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
even if you're not saying directly to them, you know, you need to work all the hours. If you're doing a different behavior, your actions aren't matching up with your words. So I feel like a good action for today, Ness, would be, of course, we have the time hacking audit, and I feel like there's an action in there.
Oh, 100%. We're going to pop the link to our time hacking audit. It's just a 1-pager. It really is something that you can print out and use over and over again. We do this regularly. Every quarter, we check in around where we're at against this marker and some other ones. And it really does help you just to see it. It's like there's no hiding from the evidence and the data. I mean, obviously you are the one circling where you sit between that scale of always to rarely. But the honesty that you have with yourself, it's worth it, because it allows you to go, okay, what's below the line here? What do I really need to focus on first? And what can I celebrate that I am doing well? And how does that change over time? And, you know, you constantly then have the opportunity to continually come back to be able to feel like you are in this space of having more time freedom.
Well said. And here's to an amazing year. We are so thrilled and grateful to be along for the journey with you, and to look forward to seeing you, or for you hearing us next week.
Okay, bye for now.